I'm Michaela.
I'm Brenna, and you're watching
The Feminist Frontier. Tinder, you love to hate it, and you hate that you love it.
Our favorite frenemy, Tinder, recently caught some fire for going a different route and basically giving the old binary the middle finger.
Tinder now has 37 options for users to select their gender. 37!
Wow!
Needless to say, this move had some folks shook.
You may be thinking, back in my day, there were only two choices for how you wanted to label yourself: female, woman, or male, man.
Such is the case for much of human society, and probably even in some of y'all's minds right now. That's called the binary.
This got us thinking about sex, gender, orientation, and all of the misconceptions surrounding each.
So what the is the difference? Let's break it down. Most folks tend to think of someone's sex as penis or vagina. Although, side note, vagina is an internal muscular canal, and when most folks refer to the vagina, they are actually talking about the group of external parts called the vulva.
Certainly, the penis-vagina divide is one of the more obvious markers for parents, doctors, etc., who are trying to assign sex to a baby at birth.
However, scientists, doctors, and all of us who have taken a middle school biology class know it's a little more complicated than that. Now, disclaimer, science is always evolving, and our understanding of biological sex characteristics may be vastly different next year, next week, or even tomorrow.
But for now, medically speaking, here's what's taken into account when considering a person's sex.
External genitalia.
Penises, vulvas, a penis and a vulva, neither.
Internal genitalia.
Uterus, vas deferens, other things that you forgot you learned in anatomy.
Your chromosomes.
XX, XY, other combinations.
Your hormone levels.
Especially those which dictate how your body, including your brain, will develop, especially in the womb and during puberty.
Whew. These characteristics are most often, but not always, grouped together in certain ways. For example, most often a baby with a vulva also has a vaginal canal, a uterus, an XX chromosome pattern, and displays higher levels of estrogen.
Based on these groupings, bodies are typically assigned male, female, or intersex.
Generally speaking, intersex is the sex assignment given to bodies whose sex characteristics are not grouped exactly according to either of these categories, male or female, which is more common than you might think. In fact, it is estimated that about 1 in every 1,000 people is assigned intersex.
The category of intersex includes folks with specific, documented combinations of sex characteristics. It can also serve as sort of a catch-all term for bodies that fall outside of the sex binary we've created.
For example, a baby might be born with a vulva, but then when that person doesn't start menstruating as expected during puberty, doctors might discover that there are undescended testes inside of the body instead of a uterus. So because of this combination of parts, this person's anatomy wouldn't really fit into the sex binary of male or female. So typically, we like to refer to someone's sex as sex assigned at birth rather than biological sex, because there are many factors, medically identifiable, indeed biological factors, that contribute to someone's sex. So to imply that someone's sex is immediately knowable when an OB shouts, "It's a boy," upon seeing a little weenie on a baby, simply ignores the very real complicatedness of the human form and the biological diversity of bodies.
On the other hand, gender is different from sex. Gender is about the social and cultural norms and expectations assigned to male and female bodies. This includes the mundane and frivolous, think who's allowed to wear a dress, as well as the serious, think around the world who's allowed to vote. Obviously, these expectations have nothing to do with body parts and are very different around the world and at different points throughout history.
Our society is very strictly organized around the binary system: men and boys, women and girls. Babies assigned male are typically raised as boys and groomed to become men, and babies assigned as female are raised as girls to become women. Obviously, this doesn't really account for people who don't fit the sex binary that we talked about. For some folks, living within their assigned gender role feels comfortable and authentic.
Cisgender is a term used for folks who identify with the social and cultural role assigned to their sex. Transgender is a term used for folks who do not identify with the gender category prescribed for their sex assignment.
In the world of gender, we also have terms like gender identity, specifically how someone identifies themselves within the gendered world, as a man, as a woman, as non-binary.
There are also gender expressions, which refers to how a person expresses their gender identity to the outside world, as masculine, feminine, androgynous, etc. So, someone might have a penis, identify as a woman, but express their gender androgynously. And while this identity could be difficult to navigate in a society so strictly oriented around the gender binary, that doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with this person. Sex, gender identity, and gender expression are all completely different things.
And all of these things are also different from orientation. Sexual and romantic orientation are usually partner-focused and partner-defined.
If someone is sexually attracted to folks of their own gender identity, they might identify as homosexual, gay, or lesbian.
If someone is sexually attracted to folks on the other side of the binary, they might identify as heterosexual or straight.
If they're attracted to folks on either side of the binary, they might identify as bisexual. Some folks also identify as pansexual, which indicates that their partner choice is not dictated by the other person's sex or gender, without using binary terms.
There's also a wide spectrum of folks who do not experience sexual attraction. They might identify as asexual or ace. Some of these folks might also identify as aromantic or aro, meaning they do not experience romantic attraction either, but these two don't always go together.
Some folks experience romantic attraction differently than sexual attraction. Some folks form romantic connections with more than one person at a time and might have a polyamorous relationship.
So to recap, sex is different from gender identity, is different from gender expression, is different from sexual orientation, is different from romantic orientation.
All of these identities are valid and legitimate. No identity is better or worse than another. They are all morally neutral differences.
And at the end of the day, every person is the expert on their own self. So the most important thing to remember is that how someone else identifies is none of your business.
Yeah! Thank you for watching The Feminist Frontier. We hope we left you with something to think about.
Let us know your thoughts, opinions, etc. in the comments below, or email us anytime at thefeministfrontier@gmail.com. If you have any suggestions or topics you'd like to hear about next, we'd love to hear from you.
See you next week.